stage who have taken the initiative in putting this together. I'm here for normally what happens every September, end of the month, which is the UN General Assembly. So normally either the Prime Minister himself or the Foreign Minister leads the Indian delegation. This year the Prime Minister did not come, so that honor was given to me. I'd be very happy to talk to you about what we think about the world and the world thinks about us after 5 or 6 very intensive days in New York. Really met a lot of people, had a lot of conversations, did a lot of things. But having said that, I must tell you the real pleasure for me on this trip is to come to Washington. I get to meet a lot of you, many of whom I have worked with, spent time with. I think Bharatbhai said I've been in many countries. Yes, that is true. But the only embassy I have served in twice in my career is Washington. So that itself should tell you. I say this not as a matter of sentiment or personal attachment, because during my professional lifetime as a diplomat, perhaps the biggest change that I saw and was a privilege to be part of was a change in the relationship between India and America. To my mind, even at the time when it was changing, it took many years to change, I would say decades to change. Those of us who saw it from inside, we could sense somewhere that there's a big change in the making. That this is not something purely diplomatic, it's not a very sarkari thing. This is a very profound shifting of the view of two societies about each other. And when societies shift in that manner, it is only possible because at a popular level, the perceptions have changed. And to my mind, the reason that has changed in the popular level is people like you. That this living bridge that you represent, the Indian-American community, I think very honestly, some years ago I wrote a book. I've actually said that it is actually in many ways the street which taught policymakers what change was about. For me, always the role of the Indian-American community in fashioning this relationship is something which I can never say enough about. We've seen this trend accelerate in the last few years. Madison Square Garden was one of its high points. Every time we talk about it, there's a different sort of, even you would have seen when Bharatbhai's tone changed when he spoke about it. But having said that, I think today I'm very glad, very proud that I'm talking to a community which has done so much to change what is for us extremely critical relationship. Now, having said that, I think as Sunandaji reminded us, this is also an occasion to discuss a book which came out recently. And it was a book to mark 20 years in administration, in government of Narendra Modi. And why we thought of the book was, in democratic politics, it is very, very rare to find anybody who has enjoyed the people's confidence for 20 years continuously. Because democratic politics is very competitive. It has a faster cycle, it has a shorter shelf life. So there's something obviously very unusual, maybe actually extraordinary, about anybody who can have a record, a continuous record of 20 years in office, and God willing, many more thereafter. Now, when the people who came up with the book idea put a group together, my understanding was that they did not want this to be a routine exercise, getting people to say good things. It's like a formality almost. So they did two things. One, they looked for a very broad, very diverse set of people to write. So if you look at it, the book, there are only two politicians, myself and Amit Bhai. There's one other person from the government, Ajit Dawal. Everybody else is from a different domain. There are business people, there are authors, there are philanthropists, there are technologists, there are eminent doctors, there are people in the country, there are people outside the country. So it's a very interesting, in a sense I would say, it is like Modi ji being viewed from a 360 angle by different people with different interests and a different perspective almost. And that makes it really a very, very interesting book. The second, and I say this because I got these instructions as a potential author, people, we were told, look, don't say the usual things. Write it from your heart if you can. Just sit there and think about what comes through your mind, make it human, make it interesting. Pen your thoughts, and most of all, put this in a perspective. This is not a memoir, it's not anecdote, though it contains personal recollections of people. But put Narendra Modi in the context of the change in India which he is leading, but of which he is also a very, very powerful symbol. So that is the manner in which we approach the book. So what I would like to do today, if you all agree, is really read out for you. I normally do 2-3 readings, short readings from different chapters. Somewhere I end up with my own chapter. I think people feel that is necessary. But today I would also like to read a segment from what Bhai has written. But I start with someone I think whom every Indian would identify with, and that is Lata Mangeshkar.